So, becoming a reviewer is a highly rewarding process, especially in the beginning of your career, when you can see what in becoming a peer reviewer, your own mistakes that you are doing, and help to further your career, not only by writing, I have reviewed for that journal, but at the same time, writing that this is not writing that this is actually an important step in how your quality of research has improved, is a good opportunity. So it's not just starting out as a reviewer. So don't be deterred if the first review might not be your best review. Collaborating with journal editors many times will help you also to better understand how review processes work, and that you can then also improve your possibilities of success with your own manuscripts. So, who can become a peer reviewer? By the time I started my research journey, which was in medical school already, there was a big debate on whether you can become a peer reviewer already without a PhD, or if you need a PhD, if you need an MD. It has become in the recent years a lot more leaner in terms of the strictness of the rules. It's rather, do you have a track record of being an expert in that specific field? So, overall, if the topic is in with your field of expertise, you are allowed, even if you haven't had your PhD finished, to be a peer reviewer. Some journals do expect you to already have a finished up PhD and are most happy to do discussion with postdocs, but with PhD students would say you're in a rather too early part of your career. But in general, a good reviewer can be at any stage of their career. It's just important to know that they are willing to do a high quality review and willing to help with the review process. So, how do you get involved? You can talk to journal editors at conferences. At many conferences, you would have stands, and at the stands, you would have then also the possibility to make sure that you are talking to the actual journal editor, and that you might indicate your interest into becoming a peer reviewer. You might email the editorial office of the target journal, might even write just an application on the website if they have this opportunity. And if you're already an author, many times the journals will ask you to review without applying for it, but just based on your publications. So, if you look at the advice of the larger publication houses such as Wiley, they suggest asking a colleague who already reviews for a journal, then networking with editors at professional conferences, or becoming a member of a learned society, and then networking with other members in your area. So the main topic that comes from the bullet points is that you need to build yourself a scientific network. The other one is that you can contact the journals directly to inquire if they are seeking new reviewers, or seek mentorship from senior colleagues. Also, you should work with senior researchers who may then delegate peer review duties to you. This might be official, as in saying, okay, um, you can, I do not have the time to do the peer review, but my colleague that is an early career researcher does have the time and would be happy to review. This might be unofficial, that the senior researcher would be asking you to review, write up the review, and then you would go with the senior researcher through the review to get the first experience. Um, There are more and more journals that offer mentoring programs for early career researchers looking to become reviewers. This might be 4-month programs, this might be 1-year programs in order to ensure that you are getting the best output possible. So, scientists provide competent peer review for free because the members of the scientific community do realize and collectively accept and value peer review as the backbone of science. This has become much of a criticism in the previous years. So, because we as researchers are providing our services for free, yet at the same time, the journals are asking to pay for open access, to pay for the publication, and that is not really small amounts for the digital publications that are currently available. Yet at the same time, the current thesis is that peer review should stay free and should not include any compensation, because this would be actually, if compensated, then going towards a job which is not what we want in order to ensure the quality of the criticism and that the criticism is in a constructive fashion. So, peer review can mean self improvement for you. You have a lot of good resources that you can go back to, and with those good resources, improve your improve also your writing itself. Especially early career researcher peer review training can give you resources that will help you to enhance your skills. And with that, not only enhance the peer reviewer skills, which are necessary to work in the academic community, but also enhance the skills that are important for your research and your methodology and your project planning. So, how do you write a peer review? The peer review could be in some way a mini summary of the paper, but that mini summary is a few sentences that might be 3, 4 sentences, followed by substantial criticism. So, what are the big concepts that don't fit into this scope? And then a list of minor issues. So, the issues that such as language, or maybe some different spelling terminology, that are the minor issues that need to be corrected. So, first of all, in a manuscript, and that is why it takes sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks to actually do a manuscript review, you should be reading the paper before the peer review, so not doing already the comments at the same time. And considering, is this a good approach towards the research? Demonstrate that you have read the paper and that you understand the wholesome approach to that specific paper. So, in the first part, in the mini summary of a peer review, you should show with the mini summary that you've read the paper, that you understand the ethos of the paper. So, what are the main points? And demonstrate your competence and how you can make statements about the significance or the strength of the paper. Based on that, you will firstly indicate, are you fond of the paper or not? Many times it happens that you congratulate the authors, or that you state in a more cold manner, the paper does this and this and this. It also demonstrates to the authors and editors that um, you have a grasp of the topic that they wanted to present, even if there are major flaws in the paper itself. When coming to the major flaws, what you should do is to list the substantial criticisms. That means that if there is a conceptual flaw, They have not used the right technique to analyze it. They have not asked the right question. There is a flaw between the hypothesis and the conclusions that they have done. You need to state this directly, honestly, and rigorously. And do not demean in this part, do not be sarcastic, but do show humility, but at the same time be constructive. So you shouldn't be negatively disevaluating the paper, but at the same time, you should be saying, I have trouble with this and this and this topic within the paper itself. And then you have the substantial criticisms listed already here in the PowerPoint slide, additionally, so that you have a better understanding. Sometimes it's not that the methodology or the connections are flawed, sometimes it is just that they are not stated clearly. If that is something, this is very well correctable in a revision of a paper, and you should state that in order for the paper to be understood correctly, the author should clearly state the hypothesis or logically connect the tests to the hypothesis, or make sure that the methods are adequate to firmly establish what is being claimed. The other thing is, would it be possible to reproduce the reported original data based on the information provided? And are the results discussed in the proper context of existing knowledge? So, if you have a paper that has done really good methodological work and you know the field because you have been actually asked to be the expert, you know the field very well, and at the same time, you don't have the appropriate new knowledge in the discussion of that paper, then it should be made sure that you really take care that the paper will be published with the appropriate knowledge, and point out that maybe some of the current voices on this topic have not been included, and that the author should consider the existing knowledge that is currently available. An important part of peer review, and you will be the last cornerstone prior to publishing on that, is, are the results trustworthy and conclusions valid? And this is based on your experience, on your understanding, on your methodological approaches, a very important question that you need to ask. And when answering those major flaws, you should consider that this will probably tip the weight either in favor or against publishing a manuscript. So be sure to be most detailed on these topics. And then you have a list of minor issues. So those might be formatting or some numbers, figures, text, language, nothing which would impact the quality of the research itself, but it's rather an administrative issue. Closing remarks are something that I like to do also myself as a peer reviewer, just telling or congratulating the researchers on the research that they have produced, or concluding that in order to make this research quality publishable, that you need to do this and this and this. Furthermore, stating that a paper in this form cannot be published, which might be very important in some possibilities. So, based on what you have read, based on your written review, you then have to submit to the editor a recommendation from your side on whether to accept the paper, accept it with major minor revisions, reject it, or reject it and encourage resubmission. Especially the reject and encourage a resubmission has been popular in the recent years, and this has been done because of the quality of language, quality of presentation many times. So the reviewer in that case does really think that the research is good in itself, but it is presented in such a way that even major revisions might not make it possible to go through two rounds of review and get it to a high quality publishable paper. And in that case, you would suggest reject and encourage resubmission. Then there is also the opportunity to decide for other recommendations. So this might be confidential comments to editors. This is especially sometimes you do have the feeling that a journal might have, that a manuscript might have been sent to the journal as a double manuscript so that it's already published somewhere else, or that you suspect a misconduct, and this is one of the worst things that you need to do as a peer reviewer, because no one wants to accuse a fellow researcher of doing misconduct, but it is your duty as a peer reviewer also to point out that. So, for a scholarly journal, please ensure that you look very early in the process of reviewing um, about how you need to write your review. Different journals have different approaches to that. Some have a lot of questions that you need to answer prior to uploading a text message, such as we discussed prior to that. You might have the opportunity to give confidential comments to the editor. This is usually optional and used only if you have the special comment and comments or concerns. And in most cases, you would have the comments to offers. These are mandatory for your review, and these are the ones that the authors will be getting. If you are doing the comments within the a word copy of the manuscript, do it with track changes. And I also suggest anonymity based on if you have an anonymous peer review, it does not make sense that your name pops off in the reviewer comments. Um, but at the same time, if you have open peer review, you can also leave it with your name in it. There is no right or wrong way to do peer review, but it is very important to be on time. And so editors prefer a slightly late but well done review rather than a hurried prepared review that is not very useful, because then we need to invite additional reviewers and it changes the approach. So, when editors get the review, they can also rate the reviewer's review. And this might impact if you will be then asked to review again, rather for this manuscript or this journal or for other journals. And avoid the common mistake. The worst mistake is the one that kept promising to complete the review and never does it. We all know we're very busy. And if you are not able to complete the review, and I have been also guilty of that sometimes, just do write the editor in a timely manner. I'm sorry, something has come up. Please do find some other reviewers. I'm currently unable to complete the review in time. Because not being on time delays the review process, and often the editor will remove the reviewer or just proceed to make a decision without that review. And in order to ensure that there is the least possible hassle for the reviewer as well as for the editor, please do not accept reviews if you don't have the time. So, best practices post review is to not include anything that appears to be a decision about the paper in your comments to the author. Rather, comment in a constructive manner what can be improved. Never reveal your identity to authors without permission. So that means if you are in a closed peer review where you don't know who the reviewer are, and neither do you know who the authors are, you should always consider that you need to make sure that you don't reveal your identity. But at the same time, you can get recognition for your peer review. The one is through websites such as Publons. They offer the possibility to showcase your peer review and editorial contributions. You might get journal recognition. Some journals publish once a year who all of their reviewers are in the last issue of the year. And you might always have additional journal resources where you can check that you have been a reviewer, or you can also get additional training as a reviewer itself. So peer reviewer training needs to happen. You need to participate also in peer reviewer training. This will not only make you a better peer reviewer when you are writing constructive reviews, but a better researcher. And that peer reviewer training extremely positively will impact your efficacy of the peer review process. So there are different guidelines for different journals. Please ensure that you take the guideline that is appropriate to the journal that you are reviewing for. Read it prior to accepting a review, or read it then again when doing the review itself, and ensure that you have the possibility to contribute to the review appropriately. And if you are doing collaborative peer reviews, as we talked before, let's say that you are a supervisor, then please ensure that this is allowed by the journal itself. So, why do peer review? It's important for your career. It has a prestige if you are invited to the best journals to review. You can access the latest research and see the latest trends, and you can increase your visibility. So you should be focused on visual thinking, making sure that not only you weed out the articles that are not aligned with the aims and the scope, or that do not match its quality of standards, but also that contribute to the body of science in a way that would be something that you wish for in that specific area. Here are some resources that you can also further access. So, online resources from Editage, as well as sources that we have used for the graphics or for some of the text that is available, as well as other peer review guidelines that are available either from different journals or different societies. So, thank you for your attention, and now we have the floor open for additional questions. Let me just unshare my screen and let's see the questions. So we'll start with the Q&A. So how can reviewers ensure they maintain confidentiality during the review process? It's quite different for different journals. In some journals, you will have strict adherence so that you don't mention your institution, you don't mention any of your papers. If you suggest papers that need to be not included but may be considered in terms of the philosophical approach that they have, you should be very wary to not use your own papers. So make sure that you use different papers, that it's not only from one author. The other thing is a lot of the journals are moving towards open peer review. And if you have open peer review, if you know who your manuscript was reviewed by, then the confidentiality in terms of who is the peer reviewer is not problematic. At the same time, when we are considering a manuscript that has not already been published, and that manuscript needs to be maintained confidential, regardless of if it's open or closed peer review, please, as a peer reviewer, don't send it to anyone, and ensure that not that you don't have anyone looking at the manuscript that has not been invited to do this. So the next question is, how should reviewers handle potential conflicts of interest? Sometimes you do get asked about the conflict of interest. So, do you have a conflict of interest pertaining to this topic? There are not a lot of conflicts of interest, except maybe that you have been supervising that specific offer, or that you have been intensively collaborating with the group. Within the field. If this happens, you need to recuse yourself to the editor and say, sorry, I didn't know this was from this specific group until I have read it. Many times you already see based on the names who it is, and then recuse yourself from that review. This also comes with the question, conflict of interest in terms of someone that you know, acquaintance for from a conference. Maybe you have collaborated a few years ago on one specific paper, but have not done a research project together. If that is the case, then you don't need to recuse yourself. This is still a rather small community for everyone, so you can also review such papers. Then the next question is, how can peer reviewing help improve someone's own writing and publishing skills? This is an important question which we touched upon at the presentation. So many times you will see the flaws, maybe you will see also some good examples of how to present your data, of how to use a certain style of writing, and based on that, you will get a lot experience of how what to do. That's the one thing. And the other thing that's quite important is that you will get also ideas in how to use which methodology, what can you mix together, especially in the natural sciences, such an important part. The next question is, do journals acknowledge or reward peer reviewers for their contributions? Some journals have started to do it this way, that you get a certain discount for future publications if you publish with them, especially in open access. Other journals allow you to be on a peer reviewer list on the last issue of the year, usually, and some have a specific peer reviewer of the year award or peer reviewer of the month, and so acknowledge they're really well well contributing peer reviewers.